Path of Night is an actual play Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. We're all friends, we're here to have fun, but our story can include graphic violence, drug use, sexual content, and other mature themes. Content warnings can be found in the show notes. We talk at our table about safety, comfort, and consent, both as players and storytellers. We know what to expect, we're all excited to be here, and we want you to feel the same. So listener discretion is advised. Now let's walk the Path of Night.
Last time on Path of Night, Ira returned to the group and requested that everyone participate in a game of questions and answers. Suddenly, Wynn re-entered the room, convinced that Ira was a threat to Eden. The Coterie sided with Wynn and managed to stake Ira. Britta protected Eden when Johnny was overtaken by his lack of blood and willpower. Miles' efforts to prepare the group and a fortuitous call from Neil brought back some order. Neil, they've been chasing you through the city. The traffic saying a car was not working out, and it's only a matter of time now before all of these Ravnos find their way to you. You, Weathers, Amaya, and Kabir have to stop somewhere soon. And Kabir is not overly helpful. He keeps coming in and out of Catatonia.
Wait, I thought he was staked.
He was.
Neil hangs up the phone that Weathers gave him, hands it back to him before realizing, like, hey, wait, that was my phone? But it's too late. You already gave it back to Weathers.
Weathers seems completely frustrated with the way that Kabir's power seems to fluctuate. It isn't just the chemistry that is displaying wild effects, but his command over beasts and fortitude go between him being totally vulnerable to, well, shoving a stake out of his chest.
Neil looks really, like his brow furrows, partly because he's in the back seat with Kabir, and that's not a comfortable place to be, and then looks over his shoulder. His mind is racing, and he looks at Weathers and Amaya in the front seat and goes, Wait. Hold on. Weathers, you staked Kabir.
Yeah.
But there's no stake in him right now.
No. He's restraining Kabir, who bares his fangs and starts hissing uncontrollably.
And we're being chased. He looks over his shoulder at,
You can see them coming, yep.
Who's chasing us?
Amaya takes a look at the rearview mirror. Something happened, and ever since, these Ravnos have been going after
How do you know
other.
they're Ravnos?
Her eyes kind of furrow, or eyebrows furrow. What do you mean?
How do you know that those are Ravnos?
Because this is only happening to Ravnos, right?
What's happening? And as Neil's a paranoid Malkavian, he's starting to get some really uncomfortable questions as parts of this scenario start not making sense. As he asks those questions and Amaya pauses, he looks at Weathers and goes, talk to me, tell me about how you staked him. Tell me when you staked him. And he's going to try very hard to open his eyes as far as they can to, if this is some sort of illusion, see if he can see past it. And as a matter of fact, I will additionally, and I don't even know, Neil doesn't know if this will make any difference, but in his experience, looking at things from a different angle, a literally different angle that people do not expect you to look from, can kind of help to bypass things. So he's actually going to look from the sky through heightened senses.
Make a perception alertness roll. Your difficulty is 8.
Reduced by heightened senses?
Yes.
He'll spend a willpower on this. 8 successes. Would have been 9. I got a 1.
So what you see, 1, Kabir is staked. And Weathers is shaking him and trying to restrain an already staked kindred. The Ravnos who are giving chase aren't really there. However, in this parking lot that New York calls traffic, there is someone who is walking between cars, headed towards the group of you. And she is a woman who is dressed in a pair of jeans, wearing lots of jewelry. In one hand, she's holding this kind of old, weathered-looking knife. And you realize that these illusions are not being created by Kabir, but the obfuscated woman who is hunting for him and on her way to the car.
Okay. Weathers, I need you to listen to me. And it's going to sound crazy, and I'm going to need you to do it anyways. Let go of Kabir. Drive, okay? If you have to hop a curb, I don't care. It's not him. None of this is happening, but someone is coming. Someone is coming right now. I can see her. She's coming for Kabir. She's coming for us. She's the one doing this, and I'm going to try and stop it. I'm going to try and pull her off the trail. I need you to drive.
How much you care about this Kabir guy?
Neil hesitates real hard. It's not subtle at all that there's a big part of him that's just like, fuck this dude, dump him in an alley, I don't care about him. And then he pauses and goes, Wynn cares about him a lot.
I know a place we can lay low.
Okay. Are you sure?
But we're gonna have to ditch the car.
Okay. How much... You can't see her. You can't see her if she's coming. I'll keep eyes, and I'll try and throw her off. I'll try and throw her off. I'm not as fast as you guys are. I can't run with... But I can see.
I'll hold him. He gives Amaya a nod. All right, everyone ready?
Lex, how far back is she before we step outside? Like, is she real close, or is she, like, voice distance, or... I don't know how far away she is.
A little less than 50 yards away.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
Okay. Yeah, let's go.
As soon as you say let's go, the light in the car goes on, doors open, and Weathers is yanking Kabir out of the car, pulling him over his shoulder and running. He seems to be trying to run slow enough that he doesn't just immediately lose you. But he's on the move. I'm going to need a dex plus athletics check
happening to me.
to weave around cars, and in this case, slide over the hood of one to keep up with him.
Where am I at for blood? I woke up not that long ago, not having been in full possession of my body.
You have 3 blood in your system.
Oh, I'm not buffing my dex. All right. Can't do that. What's the diff?
6.
Well, without a spec and 2 dice, I got 1 success.
Well.
I rolled a 10.
Nice.
Neil slides over the hood of the car and manages to stick with Weathers and Amaya, who are ridiculously athletic.
One of the things that I'm going to try and watch for, right? I'm going to try and... So I actually have an eye in the sky, so I can kind of look at 2 places at once.
Mm-hmm.
Eye in the sky, I'm going to keep an eye on her, the one, whoever's following us. Down here on the ground, I am, while they are faster than me, and I'm like struggling to keep up, even without the ability to get winded, I can't keep up with these people. But they probably are maybe still under the effects of chemistry, so if they start turning or like, oop, can't go that way, there's a wall, when there clearly is not, I'm going to try and be like, no, it's okay, go, and lead them through.
So Weathers and Amaya are clearly trying to maneuver and keep their distance from what they think is a horde of Ravnos chasing them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Amaya looks to you and kind of gives you this, like, little smile, like, and says to you, "You've got some moves, Malk." And then she scoops you up and pulls you over her shoulder and says, "I promise I'm not going to think any less of you." And starts...
I have no pride.
running with you over her shoulder.
Neil just like bouncing over the back of her shoulder. Now that I actually don't have to worry about running, is this woman running after us, or is she still doing like the casual villain saunter?
So it goes in like this phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the casual villain saunter, and then as soon as you guys round a corner, she like twitches and clearly like enters into a frenzy and starts running.
Oh shit! So she's clearly in a frenzy.
Yeah.
Oh, there goes that plan.
Almost like a zombie movie.
Right.
Yeah.
You can feel like the power of something that should not be driving her to this madness.
I'm going to look at Weathers and just be like, how much do we give a shit about the masquerade right now?
A lot, always.
Okay, I just double check.
Fuck, and he ducks into.
I'm double checking.
and he ducks into a deli.
Limiting options here. Fuck. All right, that limits. She's frenzying. That limits one of my options, and we don't want to fuck up the masquerade, even in New York. That limits one of my other options. Oh, shit. How far away? Where do we go? She's running.
He starts heading to the back of the deli, and one of the deli employees kind of absentmindedly opens the door to the refrigerator, and he heads in. You guys head in. Both you and Kabir being carried by Bruja.
Like you do.
And when they shut the when they shut the refrigerator, there's like a loud noise from like a locking mechanism. He heads over to the other side of the refrigerator and bangs on it. After a couple loud thumps, the back of the refrigerator opens. And there are men in suits who starts pulling you guys into the other side of the refrigerator. The door is shut behind you. And then in the distance, like on the other side of the door, because of our heightened senses, you can hear the locking mechanism for the refrigerator come undone. And then a second lock happens from the door that you guys just passed through to exit the refrigerator on the other side. Inside, in this space, you can see there are these screens monitoring activity all over various parts of New York. And there are men in suits pacing, people are taking notes. There is a big, board that has images of prominent members of the Sabbat, some sketches, some actual photos, and kind of sitting in the middle of this, kind of calculating their next move, is Jan Peterson. And he turns his head very slowly towards the group of you. Why are you here? And he points at the four of you. Weathers takes a step forward. We're out of options. And I think we've got some pretty important intel. And Jan nods. Is the intelligence more important than this location? And Weathers looks to you.
Sort of a subjective question, but I know who's coming. I know who's here. I know the list of the packs that are going to be crusading north into New Haven, and I know why the Black Hand is stalled out. Why they're fighting internally.
Interesting. He turns, gets out of his seat. You are a member of my child's Coterie?
Yes, sir. Your Archonship.
You're far from home. What's going on?
Oh, God, that's such a loaded question.
Neil, your presence here really depends on your ability to answer questions, regardless of how loaded or complicated they are.
Okay, what's going on is a much larger question, regarding...
I understand the severity of my questions. Answer it.
Okay, well, on a global scale, horrific things are happening that are affecting kindred everywhere, that are affecting everyone everywhere. You've obviously seen the red star in the sky that everyone can see now. Even the mortal populace can look up and just see it now. Yes?
Doomsaying aside, tell me important information. He says, kind of like realizing that you're just everywhere. Tell me what important information I need to know regarding the activities of the Black Hand.
Cardinal Polonia and the Vikos are here in the city meeting with a number of members of the Sabbat. Many of the packs However, there seems to be some internal problems and stalling. In the east, are you aware of the schism of the Assamites, the children of Hakim?
We were approached recently by an elder by the name of Tejurias of the Assamites, and the Amur here represents a kindred by the name of Al-Ashrad.
Yes.
They are approaching, seeking sanctuary from some sort of trouble that is taking place in their eagle's nest. What bearing does this have on the Black Hand?
A lot. The thing that they're... I won't say its name, but just call it the Herald of Hakim, because that is what it calls itself, has awoken and has decided that all of the children of Hakim are to be beholden to the old laws, the laws of Hakim. And I am now to sort of understand that a great deal of this organization in the Sabbat, the Black Hand, was made up of the warriors of the Assamites, the children of Hakim, members of the Web of Knives and things like that, the warrior caste of the Assamites. But since the Herald has awoken and is hunting all those who have turned away from the road of blood, the Assamites, who made up probably the majority of this Black Hand, their major fighting force, have abandoned the Sabbat and returned to Alamut. Unexpectedly, the Cardinal Polonia and the Sabbat were extremely unhappy and wanted all of those who he saw as traitors hunted, to show a message that the Black Hand, that the Sabbat were still strong, which is why now they are trying to rally as many loyal packs as they can to get the engine of war moving again. They were waiting on a guest that Polonia thought was important.
Well, who is the guest?
Neil thinks back real hard. Lex, I ran before the names were said. It's still the Week of Nightmares. Can I blow one of those to have gotten that Eyes of Chaos in the ambience, that kind of thing in the air?
Yes, you may.
I have one left.
The name was Dark Selena.
I don't know the context, but the name, I think Polonia, the Vikos, they were talking about this individual, Dark Selena.
He makes a bit of a face at that. That would explain the mysterious benefactor in Maine. Weathers kind of gives you a nod. I told you what Neil has is worth it.
I have a list of the packs, too, but that seems maybe less important.
No, it's important. Write it down, attach it to that board. There is someone who has been sending messages from Portland, rallying some rather unusual kindred towards aiding in the Crusade of New England. And the woman you speak of is sufficiently influential, if it is indeed her, and she is somehow still intact despite her child's best efforts.
Neil clicks back to a rooftop conversation with Nix and Britta, and he may be tying threads that do not tie, but his mind is tying them.
This benefactor has brought 2 groups to the region, very low and in number, however allegedly capable of what has been described as powers long forgotten. The first is a man by the name of Adonai, and what he calls his Furies. Another is a group of Canaanites who refer to themselves as the Harbingers of Skulls. He actually sits down at one of the desks and picks up a manila folder and motions for you to approach.
Neil, seeming very in his element in a messy conspiracy board, has already tacked all the names of the things up and then hurries over.
Have you ever seen kindred who look like this? And he opens the folder and he shows you photos that are unsettling. The first is a cowled figure with a white porcelain cherubic mask. And in one of the pictures that follows, the mask is gone and the person's face is flayed, revealing their skull. They practice some form of necromancy, and are quite powerful, and seem to have some form of vendetta with the Giovanni. I know that your coterie was in Boston not too long ago, and the Giovanni have great sway there. Did the Giovanni mention anything about harbingers of skulls, and did you see anything like this individual in the subway or in the streets or anywhere during your visit to here in New York?
No, I've not seen anything like that.
All right. He looks flustered. Perhaps they're not here yet. What about this? He turns through many pictures, dudes with mohawks and literal chainsaw hands and just nonsense, weird-looking, monstrous vampires. And then he comes to one who is a man with a leather jacket with spikes, like, protruding from the shoulders and around the collar. And he's wearing this, like, hoodie underneath, hood's up. And you can see his face. He's got, like, he's got a bit of a full beard. And on his forehead is a third eye. This is Adonai. Have you ever heard of this?
A third? No, nothing like that.
They seem to be in the area with a vendetta against the Tremere. It would seem that the Camarilla and the Giovanni are experiencing a resurgence of old enemies. And if these individuals are powerful, like intelligence seems to suggest, the advantage given to us by the sudden disorder among the Black Hand is not going to be a lasting advantage. So, he sighs, I'm going to need to determine how to best use what few moments we have. Was Dark Selena there? Did you see her? Is she in New York?
She wasn't there yet, but Polonia seemed to think she was on her way. That was the indication. That he even went so far as to say he didn't want to be disturbed when his guest arrived. If you, I don't know, have a picture of her or something, I could find out where she is, but...
I think I know where to get one. The group of you, when are you headed back to New Haven?
Neil looks over at Weathers unabashedly hopefully.
We're looking to get there as soon as possible, he says, kind of looking at you. I'll fly you out. Get out of the area as soon as possible. I need to rendezvous with someone. Let her know that we're going to be taking a step back from New York. But I'm going to tell you this. New Haven is overloaded with kindred right now. That is not by accident.
Bodies.
Someone is going to be drawing the ire of the Sabbat toward New Haven. We are going to attempt to deal as much damage as we can to Cardinal Polonia's force. And then we are moving on New York, and if we can lock it down, we can end the crusade.
What about the thing underneath New York?
Supernatural phenomena happens from time to time in every city. New York is massive.
Neil doesn't say anything, but a look classes over his face of, I'm not going to speak out against the Archon, who's the expert in the area, but also you have no idea what you're fucking talking about, because he astraled around and felt the shit down there. So that look flashes across his face, but he doesn't say anything.
What I need is for the group of you to make sure that New Haven is prepared. I understand that New Haven is going to be put under a great deal of duress, and one of the deadliest forces the Sabbat has ever mustered is coming to it. But we know it's coming. We can prepare for it. The night can be won. Make sure my child is ready to win the night.
Someone needs to go root out the spies in New Haven.
Part of preparation. He looks to Weathers. Weathers, we are going to need Roman Pendragon's army to siege New York. Convince him. And Weathers looks annoyed at the request, but slowly nods.
Neil looks at Weathers and just goes, might have a potential inroad for a conversation. If you...
He gives you another nod. Get some rest. We have Vitae. We will provide for you, and then give me an hour, and we'll be getting the group of you out of New York.
Thank you, Orkan.
Miles, we pick up with you a night later. You're in the office, putting in work. There's been reports of masquerade breaches, things needing to be cleaned up as the Sabbat has begun to harass the domain borders again. And as you are filing some information away, utilizing Upton Rollins' resources and contacts to get the job done, there is a knock at the door.
Come on in.
Britta pokes her head in and sees that you're busy. Is now an okay time?
Yeah, I've got things mostly handled for now. I'm pushing things on Wynn and Johnny that need to be done.
There's a couple things that I wanted to do, and I was wondering if you might help me, or also maybe just want to come with.
I could definitely use a break. What are you thinking?
Well, the first thing is that I found, I don't know if you know if they're any good, this overnight florist. And underneath her arm, she's got the big, thick phone book, her pointer finger tabbing a particular page, and she shows you the advertisement.
I mean, anything you'll find in the phone book may be adequate. What are you trying to do?
I know it's not, enough, but, it doesn't feel right to me to just kind of not acknowledge what happened to Elsa Linden. And I was thinking about it, and I just wanted to, I thought you might want to come with me to pay respects. I thought about going to where the Toreador gather and maybe leaving some flowers at her piano.
We can do that. He picks up a card, writes a number. You're going to want to ask for Richard. It's where I got the flowers from before, so.
Well, there's kind of another number I would need soon.
The one you were asking about before?
Yeah, I think the sooner I try to apologize to Prince Pendragon, the better.
I mean, I don't think there's anything you're going to be able to do with a coffee pot against him.
No, of course not, but I've been thinking about it, right? The advice that I gave you when you were trying to make things right with Elsa.
Mm.
And I don't feel as, confident for this. So I don't think that a gift would really do it. And I think that maybe the best thing to do would just be to show that I'm not running away, because us running away at Boston was a huge deal.
I can see that. Why don't you call Richard? I mean, we can get that flower order in there so it'll be ready to pick up. And then you can make your phone call to Pendragon after you give me a bit more about some of the situation that went on there.
Okay, I was thinking, purple teacup roses. What do you want for yours? If you wanted to do a bouquet too.
Yes, give me a white bouquet, lily and roses.
All right, sounds good. Britta leaves the room to let you have, do you have multiple phones?
There's phones all over this place. I have phones. There's multiple lines on the phones.
Britta goes to the nearest phone that you're not using.
Fair enough.
She calls and orders the 2 bouquets. She gives a pretty high budget, but doesn't indicate what they're for, and asks that they be ready as soon as possible.
They seem to indicate that it's not going to take them more than an hour or two to have everything ready to go.
And when she's kind of put those orders in for the bouquets, making sure that, she's set it up that they come in a nice vase each, Britta comes back over to Miles.
By the time you come back around, Miles is come around the other side of the desk and is leaning on it, waiting for you to come back.
They said it should be at most an hour, I think.
That sounds about right. They're very good. So before I give you Pendragon's number, it felt like a lot of things were left unsaid about the whole deal, and enough that I'm wondering, is the apology just to keep us safe?
Britta looks down. You see her gaze kind of slip to the door, and she goes to sit closer to you.
There's a couple chairs right in front of the desk there.
Mm-hmm. She seems self-conscious of the door, maybe she's not sure if she wants to say this and be overheard.
Well, I don't know where everybody else is, but Johnny and Wynn are both out.
Okay. I don't really know where to start. I thought I was making progress, that we were gonna have a better relationship with him. And I think I really fucked it up. And it's, look, those couple days were a big whirlwind, and it's kind of hard to settle everything out after, but I guess I'm kind of... And Britta's fiddling with her hands in her lap, and she's speaking quietly, not quite looking at you, peeking at you, checking, like... That's her usual nervousness and caginess is amplified in this moment, and it could be what's happened to her. It could be the scenario. She's really having trouble figuring out a starting point for what she's saying.
Well, it's just me here, so you don't have to, I don't know, beat around the bush too much here, but also, weren't you essentially mind-controlled?
I didn't choose to leave. The Tamahara came in and activated me. But, things had kind of gotten awkward before that, and I don't know if he was already mad at me before I tried to hit him with a coffee maker.
He smiles a little bit at that still.
Don't laugh.
I'm sorry. It's just the picture of him getting hit with a coffee maker is amusing.
I didn't succeed.
I mean, the attempt is still humorous to some degree. I understand the situation wasn't, but I'm sorry.
I get that he's not a good person, but he really did stand by his word. I know I'm saying it carefully because I think that the Coterie's going to jump at any chance for conflict, and I'm worried that they're going to do that because I don't think we win that fight. Sorry?
I mean, part of it is, it's the kidnapping that, wrangles us a little.
And I get that, but I'm not saying it's okay or anything. I'm just saying that the choice was kidnap or kill or a whole range of options, and everything that I go through seems to indicate that that was on the lighter end of what Kindred choose to do.
You're not incorrect.
I don't really see ways out of what's happening here without working with him. And I guess I ended up kind of confused about... Britta racks her mind for how to keep going and finally looks more up at Miles. I want to call to apologize to make sure that we're safe. But that really is the motive of calling. I'm just also, I guess, a little confused on my feelings.
All right. I mean, how were things while you were there at his place? Did he treat you well?
I don't really know how to answer the question when I was kind of there were a lot of bad things, right? Like, obviously being kidnapped's not great, and then
No.
Britta loses her steel to look at you. There were threats, and there were moments where it felt like he was trying to teach me, and he protected me, but also he would put me in danger, and I don't really know which one to go with in this conversation. And I feel like an idiot talking to you about it, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to...
All right. You're not an idiot. This whole thing is very complex, and we do not need Pendragon as an enemy currently. I am on these pages with you. If nothing else, we need him as an ally going forward, as a bulwark against the Sabbat. regardless of his methodology. Very archaic planning style. Anyways, so you want to apologize?
Yeah.
Are we looking to meet up with him again?
I have no idea if he would even accept.
That's not what I asked.
I don't know. It's not an objective of the phone call, if that's what you mean.
Of you.
To be honest, I kind of still want to hide in that closet for a while about everything, so...
Yeah, we don't get a lot of those opportunities. Especially now. Everything seems to be moving much faster than it ever has.
Yeah.
So, our closet days are very short, sweet, to be remembered as we forge ahead.
Do you have closet days?
I'm using a metaphor you would understand.
Britta actually looks quietly disappointed.
So...
No, I'm not, I already feel confused enough. I'm not really trying to get more confused.
What?
I don't really know how to explain it better than that. I'm not looking to push things forward.
Avoiding?
I think if I acted like I wanted to meet up again, it would have some connotations. And I don't even really know how any of that works. And,
It may or may not have connotations, but that's not what I was asking. I was asking what you wanted.
I don't... Okay, what does it mean if someone's fangs come out?
Usually it's an emotional response if it isn't on purpose.
Like if you're... I've seen it happen when you're mad or hungry.
Yeah, strong emotions can bring out the fangs, dependingly.
Any strong emotion?
I don't know. I haven't done extensive testing. I'm also not always aware of what my own fangs are doing.
Britta's eyes kind of go a little wide, and she looks anywhere but Miles.
He semi-raises an eyebrow at that, but, look, when you were taken...
Yep.
And he wanted to talk, it very much felt like it put a lot more power in your hands. And I don't know if you realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think to some extent, yes.
Sure, he's a old, powerful Bruja with tons of potence and everything else, just throwing his strength around.
Britta covers her face.
But it seems like things were going well overall for you, enough to the point that he didn't kill Neil at the sight of him.
That seems to rally Britta.
Yeah, I kind of figured that if I showed him that I wasn't going to listen to Neil or pay attention, that he wouldn't hurt him. Because he wouldn't seem to matter.
But there are other ways of meeting up in more public ways if you wish to further cement this alliance of sorts. Inviting him to come down for one of our court days.
Yeah, I mean, if the phone call were to go well, I guess I could try and... I mean, he would already be going to the rave, probably. Or I guess you'd want him to be, because otherwise that's most the Bruja ever in the area, right?
I imagine he would get an invite to this rave. Part of that is from what Johnny's talking about, trying to solidify the Bruja in some way.
Bruja?
Bruja. Johnny's trying to solidify the Bruja in the area. So I imagine he will receive an invite, but this would be slightly more personal.
I mean, that didn't seem like the kind of thing that I could invite him to.
Yes, that's why I said you invite him to a thing.
Okay.
That would put, in this territory instead of him showing up out of nowhere and summoning you and stealing you in a car.
Do we have a thing coming up?
Yeah, we have court days on pretty regular.
Okay. I don't think I think if he is planning on doing that, he's going to do that.
That's not the point.
Okay. From what we knew about Rollins' court, I don't think he ever officially had hospitality. That wasn't, I'm sure he had hospitality, but it's not like he was asking for it.
Yes, I understand that. This isn't about court complications with
I'm just saying I don't know what you're trying to prevent.
I'm not trying to prevent. I'm trying to give you an idea to meet up with him in an area that isn't being, kidnapped or driven away to Hartford.
Okay. If he wants to meet in real life, I'll suggest our court.
Sure. Sounds great. So the world we're in is weird in many ways, and things happen beyond our understanding or just what we would consider normal.
Everything is terrible all the time, and I feel like I'm losing scope on what's supposed to compare to what.
I don't feel like everything's terrible all the time, but there are things that are bad that are happening, and we are doing our best to stop them.
I don't know, Miles, I feel like I was doing a better job holding everything together, but ever since the dragon, I don't feel like I'm doing a good job at that anymore. Like I can't make myself act like this is normal.
What the dragon was and what it did is beyond the kind of my understanding, but we need to keep moving. We need to keep going forward. Otherwise, we don't ever leave the dragon.
Yeah, I guess. I still feel it.
It'll be there. Like many things, its presence is still there and doesn't go away.
Do you think it ever will, or do you think it'll feel like this? Like there's too much of me that's been taken?
The edges will soften. It'll still be there. There'll be times when you're randomly doing things that the memories will come back. Part of the curse of us being, never really aging.
Britta nods a couple times and tries to pull herself back into better posture.
But that's why we take the things that we do enjoy and enjoy them while we can.
Do you want to walk to get the flowers, or?
Oh, no.
Oh.
No. We'll have a ghoul drive us, if nothing else.
Why?
Well, the Sabbat are attacking various points in the city currently.
I thought you liked to drive.
I do like driving. I just figured, I didn't know if you wanted to talk, but if you want to take out one of the fast cars, I'm all for it.
I don't know. I guess, sure.
Let's do it. You can make your phone call after we drop the flowers off.
Britta's face kind of falls. It kind of seems like she was edging away from having to do that, but she nods.
And we get to the storm purple Lamborghini. Sure, it may be the death of me someday, but I'll enjoy it until then.
Hey, you have your cell phone, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you for a new one.
Third closet.
Lex, when is the last time that Britta remembers having a cell phone? Because the last time that it was on screen was in the limousine. Was it collected along with the weapons then, or was it collected from her hotel room? Because that certainly, she has not had enough pockets consistently enough to have that cell phone.
You know that the dress you attended in did not have pockets.
Whoa.
And it did not have a cell phone with you.
I think my phone's still with the rest of my... Well, it's probably with the rest of my stuff.
We can get you a new one. There's a couple down the closet. We just have to activate it. I'll call up the phone company.
Okay.
Or really, I'll have somebody do that. And we'll grab a phone. I'll send a quick message to one of the ghouls to get it activated for her. And we will head off to Richard's to pick up the flowers.
Britta gets into the passenger seat. There's that sort of, it's not automatic anymore. It's that unconscious check if there's a pistol underneath the seat. Yep, and that seems to make her feel a little safer as they go off to get their flowers.
Picking up the flowers happens without any issues. They're there waiting for you, beautifully arranged and ready to go.
Britta thanks the shopkeeper, she probably starts getting ready to pay. I don't think Miles allows that, right? Yeah. She steps out of the way and lets Miles do his thing.
I mean, there's no transfer of money right now. That's not, yeah.
So then she probably pats herself down for...
No, not any. Miles waves her off. It's not necessary. Don't worry. They get paid.
She nods and kind of gives parting smile to the shopkeeper before heading back towards the car to head back to where the Toreador Salon is held.
Miles definitely makes introductions to make
The flowers barely fit into the Lambo.
You know what? Britta will have them on her lap so that it's obviously crowded, right? But she can keep careful hold of them, and she's small herself, so there's some more room.
Flowers are not part of the consideration for taking the Lambo.
She's going to be real careful with them. She'll protect them.
But yeah, he definitely introduces you to those people so that you are now aware of them and they know each other. So, and he will take Britta to the salon.
So Wynn is probably sitting out. She's probably walked a fair bit into the woods because Miles' place is nice. It feels very much like home. But sometimes there are thoughts you don't want to think in the safe places. And the birds with the human demeanors have her concerned. But she also has messages to send. So she's still not wearing shoes. She's sitting out at the base of a tree, just kind of legs bent in front of her, kind of playing with the dirt and the sediment on the floor of the woods, looking at her phone to see if anyone has gotten back to her of the messages she's sent, either to Kabir or to Ramirez. And if that's a blank...
It's a blank.
She tries not to think about it so much. More and more, she's starting to Monday morning quarterback if there are things she should have done differently at any step. Mostly so that she knows she could do better in the future. But as she's sitting, she sticks her phone back in her pocket, just kind of leans on one hip to slide it in her back pocket. And she starts looking for what critters are in the woods, because there's a message she needs to send. She has been thinking a lot about how helpful it would be if she wasn't the only gangrel in the city. If someone, somewhere along the line, had listened to Xavier's warnings. And maybe he's the guy who can help save New Haven, and maybe bring some gangrel back to the area. And it's a long shot because they've never met, but what have we got left but long shots? So Wynn looks around. She's looking for a bird, a bat, something that can cover ground and will not be uncomfortable traversing the landscape of the United States or elsewhere.
You find a mouse moving about, light, wary, and without making a sound, something snatches it from the ground, perches up on a branch with its hapless victim, and begins to rend the mouse with its beak. You see an owl devouring its meal.
Wynn waits for the owl to finish, because it's rude to interrupt people's meals.
It finishes, and then turns its head way too far so that it can look at you.
Does this seem to be just an owl?
It seems to be an owl.
Okay. She turns her head to look at it with her eagle-like eyes. Could I trouble you for a favor?
Its head quickly tilts to the side. Favor? What favor?
And this is still just an owl?
Yep.
Okay. I need someone found and brought to me.
Found favor?
What would you want in exchange for bringing a message?
Tilts its head on the other side. Food?
You got it.
Food? What favor?
There's a man like me, beast inside, not really human anymore. He'll be able to understand you.
What say?
His name is Xavier. Let him know Wynn of his clan in New Haven believes him, and there are those who will stand.
Will say.
Thank you.
Food?
Yes. Wynn will kind of look around for any kind of small prey.
Yeah, give me a perception survival.
Well, I had 2 successes, but I also had 2 ones, so...
You don't seem to find anything.
Mm-hmm. She starts to think for a minute. She holds up a finger. Wait.
I
will come back with food.
Food?
Very soon. And she runs in the house, and she grabs a container of eggs, and she grabs, like, a thing of bacon, and she comes back. This message is important, she says to the owl. So generous payment.
Food? It heads over and swoops down to you.
Yeah, she opens the container of eggs. She pulls off the plastic from the bacon.
The owl gorges on fat and meat and yolk.
Don't make yourself too sick to deliver the message. I will give you more if you come back.
You kind of have to make it stop, but...
Yeah, she kind of like bops it on the face and pulls it back.
It takes off. Xavier,
Xavier, he goes by both.
And he's off to deliver a message.
And Wynn goes back to sitting against the tree with the meat and the eggs.
As you walk through the woods headed to somewhere to sit, passing a tree, you catch the figure of Raven leaning against the tree and watching you.
Wynn startles a little bit. Not so much that someone is there, but more that it's her. Well, fuck, I didn't anticipate seeing you here.
How could you?
When they get there, Britta asks if Miles can get the door.
Yes, of course.
She does that kind of careful slink out of the Lambo with the flowers. And once she's righted herself, made sure they're so perfect, she hands Miles his bouquet and leads the way up to the door.
He lets you take the lead since this is more your territory than his in many ways.
Within moments, the door opens, and you are shown in by some of the ghouls that serve the Toreador. And inside, you can hear the sounds of a piano softly playing, soft laughter, just a very cozy experience being had by the local Toreador.
How good's that piano?
Pretty good, but Miles is actually probably better.
Am I okay to proceed?
You are.
It then suddenly occurs to Miles that no one has informed the Toreador of the missing Elsa.
Britta, leading the way, is going to look for familiar faces to see if there's anyone that she recognizes as having been present at the gala. As she heads over towards, usually Elsa would be at that piano, right?
Yes. When you enter, there is one Toreador you do recognize who was at the gala. Sophie, however, most of the Toreador actually had stayed in New Haven to lend support to the new prince. But one of them, Sophie, one of the Toreador that would always follow Elsa around and was just kind of a doting minion, she is here.
Looking over to try to make eye contact with her. How's she doing?
She seems quiet, reserved. Everyone seems to be having a very good time. She's sort of sitting just off to the side, lounging and listening to the conversations that happen.
Britta pauses and changes track from the piano over to where Sophie is and approaches to make a hello. She kind of waits just to see if she's acknowledged.
She acknowledges you and she waves and smiles. It's so good to see you. It's been a while.
It's good to see you too.
Then someone enters.
Britta turns to look.
And from another room, Marcus Vitale and a handful of Toreador sort of start to enter. Marcus notices the two of you. Oh, hello.
Britta sends a smile. She does not recognize this stranger. It's a sincere and polite smile. Hello.
Your Grace.
Prince Vitale.
Oh, thank you.
Oh. She dips her head in respect, realizing.
The Prince of Washington, D.C. A bit of a complicated scenario there for now, but once we beat back the Sabbat, I'm sure all of the princes who are visiting will disperse back to their home domains.
Strong hands will be necessary to reaffirm the Camarilla in those areas.
How true, my fellow king. What brings you here tonight to join us?
Britta has been giving Vitale smiles of agreement as he speaks towards the idea. They're light smiles, nothing too committal. But at that question, she lets her eyes flick over to Miles as if checking.
I had become aware of the fact that Elsa may have suffered her final death at the attack.
What attack? and the room fills with gasps, including Sophie.
Aura perception?
Sure.
What? Does my spec and villains apply?
No.
Okay. Heightened senses is up, so that is -4 to difficulty, leading to 4 difficulty.
Okay.
That is 7 successes.
What is your question?
I am seeking her emotional state.
She's concerned.
Does she seem surprised?
Yes.
Britta looks very intently at Sophie for that long telling moment, and then back to Miles.
Yes, I had heard that Warwick's domain in Rhode Island had been attacked by a large gathering of Sabbat.
If they are so bold that they would attack Warwick, His Grace, I suppose that is trouble for us in New Haven.
I was there along with a few other Toreador, and one of the Sabbat had been attacking Elsa.
And with those words, Britta addresses out to the crowd of Toreador, allowing her window to include Vitel, but trying to raise her voice and speak with clarity to the group.
Some of us tried to pull Elsa away from an orb of shadows, but we weren't successful.
Marcus Vitel kind of gives a look of concern. You were there?
I was at the gala, yes. When the Sabbat started attacking myself and my friend Neil, we were looking for Elsa to make sure that she got out safely.
There was a rumor that you're actually in the hands of the Prince of Hartford.
Yes, I went with him there.
I see. Your Grace, what is our policy regarding the Prince of Hartford?
Currently, we are in discussions for possibly a mutual alliance. It was ongoing with Roland's, but Roland's wanted to pretend all of this wasn't happening, so.
Britta is dedicatedly attending the conversation at hand and pretending to have not noticed the fact that that is also an announcement that has been made in a room full of gossiping Toreador.
When your sire was approached regarding which domain we would be going to for the time being, it was specified to us that we should go to New Haven because His Grace Prince Roman Pendragon could not be trusted and posed a threat to any domain he attended. Are you certain this is a man that you wish to ally yourself with?
From my understanding, Pendragon was also at the attack in Rhode Island.
His presence didn't deter it.
It doesn't seem so.
Then what is it exactly that he offers?
He has troops.
Your Grace, some of us that made it out from that attack were working together, and his assistance really helped some of us survive the Sabbat.
He just didn't choose to help Elsa?
There
the
were...
Toreador look flustered at the thought of Roman Pendragon just leaving her there to die.
He was fighting outside. There were fights in different pockets of the mansion and the gala, and those that he could rally outside, he did. I had been inside to try to get others safe and warned. If this kind of attack were to happen in the future, we would need to work together to cover different ground.
His lips thin, and he looks to some of the other Toreador that are in the room. I am concerned that in allying with the Prince of Hartford, we are embracing barbarism, cruelty. We would protect ourselves from the Sabbat by becoming them. And, Your Grace, it is of course your decision. However, I know a great many of your new citizens know Prince Pendragon's reputation and have turned to you because you are not a violent brute or a diablerist or someone who scoffs at tradition when an opportunity for power arises. You are a noble king. That is why they chose you. And your choices reaffirm the man that they know you to be.
I hear you.
If you'll excuse me, this terrible news has Sullied the night for me. Some of the Toreador actually look a little saddened that Vitel is leaving. My condolences for your loss, he says to Britta very sincerely.
I'm sorry to give you the news.
He then excuses himself.
Miles watches them go and takes stock of the situation inside the salon, especially in combination with what his own sire told him when the princes arrived.
Britta turns and looks back to Sophie once more.
Sophie seems to have excused herself. And when you look back, she's just not there.
Britta stares at the spot for a couple moments before looking around the room at where she might have gone. But I imagine this is probably a place with a lot of doors.
It is, and open passages and staircase going upstairs. And
So after taking stock of that and the lack of likelihood of figuring out which path she took, Britta takes what is likely still a hush in the room. She takes the moment to then walk over and put her bouquet on Elsa's piano, setting it so that it's not in the way of whoever was playing, but in a place of respect.
I follow suit.
Is the room so quiet, or have they fallen into whispers?
there are some hushed attempts at small talk, but with the music having stopped and the bad news, it seems like their carousing has largely concluded.
Britta turns and she looks towards the assembled Toreador, and kind of using the fact of knowing their attention to be on her regardless, she speaks to the room at large, and she says, "I wish that I had brought this news in a better way. I'm sorry to tell you, and I hope that we can pay our respects."
One of them approaches and gives you a hug. I'm sorry you had to see all of that.
It actually catches Britta off guard, and she genuinely falls into the hug and hugs back.
One of them turns to Miles. Your Grace, what do you need us to do?
I need you to continue to keep the spear of the court up, as the Toreador have always done. And to remember Elsa, as she always wanted to be remembered.
Of course.
Your Grace,
Yes.
For the preparations that we're making for this city, would you include combat practice?
Of course.
When we were there, that's something that many of the Toreador didn't have. And maybe if we had been a bit more prepared to fight not just with our words and with our skill, maybe that can help make a difference and protect us moving forwards.
I will give you all the things you need to make that happen, including my own expertise if necessary.
Thank you.
But maybe you should spearhead it for the Toreador.
Britta looks to the room to assess reaction.
Some seem a little surprised at the idea of Britta being some sort of combat veteran. Others don't.
Britta dips her head. It's awkward isn't the right word, but she's not used to addressing Miles as Prince. I think this is the first time in a public setting. So there's a bit of extra emphasis on the gestures of respect and formality. But she dips her head to Miles and says,
I'd like to help. Yes?
Very good.
All right. Then I think that's what we came for.
Miles makes a bow to the Toreador. Hopefully I'll be able to join you again sometime soon.
A number of the Toreador, men, women, kind of together like, "Good night, Your Grace."
I will finish my bow and start heading for the door.
Miles like, this is my favorite. I love this clan the most.
Britta heads out after Miles.
This voice is not Raven's, and Wynn knows that immediately. And as surprised as she was to see the form of Raven, now her hackles are up. This is something in the shape of Raven, as best she can tell. Wynn takes a more defensive stance and eyes narrow. What are you?
Did he never tell you what it was like to speak to me?
There are a lot of he's in my life.
Miles, did he not tell you about Zofia?
When there's some relief in knowing that this is not an unknown factor, but not a lot, and certainly not enough to adjust.
Your friend made a bargain. He asked that I don't make you suffer, even when you deserve it. But I can still watch. And right now is a very, very special occasion. And as Zophiel speaks, a shiver runs up your spine, because in the underworld, winds suddenly pick up, and a great deluge arrives, and an all-consuming storm begins to sweep in from the east, and you know in your heart the maelstrom that they were talking about, everything you were warned about, has begun.
Wynn doesn't panic easily.
I'm going to need a courage check at difficulty 9.
Yep. I have no willpower left.
Then you're rolling without it being able to spend willpower.
Okay. No successes.
It is not for yourself that the fear seeps in, but for Joey.
Oh my, yes.
And for all you've been through, all of the struggles you've endured in short order, something in you finally snaps. And the hopelessness and the doom that this storm represents sends you into a rot track.
Where do I even begin to run to?
In the car, away from the place. A decent distance away from the place, because you're going to need to combat that.
I was gonna actually say the same to you.
Marcus Vital is somebody my sire specifically warned me against.
Yeah, he definitely wants you to have no allies. I mean, sure, he might specifically also not like Prince Pendragon, but
I think he wants to be my ally.
I think he wants to be Prince.
Yeah, that's, get close then, go from there. What else do you need from me? Is there anyone else in Clan Toreador who's ready to lead?
Well, see, I'm confused because Sophie, the one that I walked up to, she was at the gala, and she was there when we were trying to pull Elsa out of the shadows, but when I was kind of staring at her, I was trying to see what she was feeling, and she seemed concerned, surprised.
Dig into it a little bit more, see if you can find anything else. If not, she might be a spy.
Yeah, she might not be Sophie.
Right. Or some sort of control.
When it comes to who else is capable, I'll try and figure that out.
You do know that if you don't find somebody else soon enough to lead this clan, I'm going to suggest that you do.
No, they're not gonna...
That wasn't a suggestion.
But they're not gonna want that.
Especially when you start showing them how deadly you are, I think they won't object too much, especially being in my favor.
I don't... With all the rumors about me already and what...
Toreador, rise above them. Make them your own.
I mean, sure, that's one way to look at it, but it's not that easy. I mean, there's rumors about me being an infiltrator, and there's rumors now about what Prince Vital... Well, he's not really a prince, is he?
It was there to be nice, but no, he's not.
What Mr. Vital said, and I don't think they're... Yeah, I don't think they're gonna agree to that, Miles.
Great. Somebody needs to present themselves. I'm gonna guess that not a lot of them were going to.
Isn't that gonna look weird if most of the Primogen Council is your coterie?
If we had a lot more time and space for all sorts of things, it would be even weirder. But right now, on war footings, I imagine it's pretty normal.
I'm barely in the Camarilla, Miles. I have acknowledgement, but
Yeah, how many of them have fought a dragon?
I don't think that's usually a requirement for permission.
It's not, but it's a bonus.
They don't even know about the dragon, okay? It was news to them apparently about Elsa.
Well, I'm getting pins made up, so...
Britta can't tell if that's a joke and is looking for a hint.
Miles is not confirming nor denying it's a joke or not. I'm driving really fast.
Yeah, is that your subterfuge?
What are you trying to do here?
Oh, roll empathy on you.
Oh, PvP.
Yeah. That's 8 successes. Okay.
Miles, what did you get?
2.
Miles, were you joking?
No, I'm getting pins made up.
Britta looks dramatically unsure for a second, but seems actually able to find her balance in the situation from some hint that you weren't sure you were giving off.
Okay. How are we going to explain that?
The dragon thing? I don't know. You don't have to wear the pins.
Okay.
They're commemorative.
All right.
I think I have to apply to get mine from the vent room.
Like a letter?
Yeah, something like that. It's a white cross for the vent room.
Does that add on to the whole lector stuff?
It's just more prestige for the vent room.
Does that mean we would have venture prestige?
That's why yours are commemorative.
Oh,
All right, we'll get back to the place and you can make your call to Pendragon.
yeah.
Path of Night is a Vampire the Masquerade podcast set in the world of darkness. Britta Ashcroft the Toreador was played by Rebecca Steigelfest. Johnny Saxon the Bruja was played by Garrett Gabby. Miles Davenport the Ventrue was played by Tim Davis. Neil Foster the Malkavian was played by Rob Muirhead. Wynn Cabot the Gangrel was played by Erika Webb. Your storyteller was Lex Lopez. Recording by Rebecca Steigelfest. This episode edited by Rob Muirhead. The music used in this episode was composed for Path of Night by Brian Matolius. Find him online at brianmatolius.com. Path of Night uses the 20th anniversary edition of Vampire the Masquerade with a few limited house rules. Vampire the Masquerade and the World of Darkness are owned by Paradox Interactive. Make sure to subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. We can be found on YouTube at youtube.com/@pathofnight. You can help support the show on coffee.com/pathofnight. Find us on twitter.com/pathofnightpod, on facebook.com/pathofnightpodcasts, or email us at pathofnightpodcasts@gmail.com. See you next time, Kindred.
Britta, it's 1999. Girls can ask boys on dates.
Oh my god. No, see, to me, it was just like, I don't want that. Why not kidnap me? Why are we moving away from kidnapping?
What?
Why are you trying to stop that from happening?
I like the spontaneity.
Miles subtly making
Yeah.
it less hot. He's
Yeah.
succeeding where the rest of us
It's
fail.
like when he just shows up and hangs out at court.
That's not what I meant.
No.
What's hot about that?
That sounds awful. You ruined it.
Like, he can wear a mask. It's fine. What? Just be mysterious.
I feel like that's some mild shit creeping in there.
Like, if we just want to,
Maybe it's a
court
mask.
thing.
I don't know, some sort of golden snake mask or something. I don't know.
We do the
I'm just
weird
spitballing
stuff.
ideas.